Hi, welcome to the Global Professor. I am your professor, Professor Irina or Professor M, whatever's easier for you. Today I want to talk to you about the $100 bill mentality. Now, this is a lesson that I teach on the very first night of class, and the reason is I want my students to think like $100 bills for the rest of the semester. You'll see what I mean by that. Now, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I need you to kind of answer them to yourself. Obviously, it's a YouTube video, so you're not going to say it to me right now. But I need you to visualize, because I'm going to use a dollar bill for this $100 bill example. Why? Because I don't have $100 in my purse, because I'm a teacher, and why would I be carrying that around during a pandemic? But we're going to use this dollar bill. So I need you to imagine that this is a $100 bill, okay? So here's the first question. If I was to say, here's $100 bills, do you want it? What would your response be? Yes, right? Why? Because it's $100. All right. Now, if I was to say, here's $100, do you want it? Yes, right? Why? Because it's still $100. Now, imagine that this is the floor and this is my foot. Normally I do that in person, but this is the situation. Anyway, here's $100, right? It's been stomped on, stepped on, all of that fun stuff. Do you want it? The answer would be yes. Why? Because it's still a $100 bill. And so here's my question to you. Who sets your value? Long time ago, somebody got a piece of paper, stamped an image on it and a face, and gave it value. Said it was worth $100. And because they gave it value, we began to believe in that value. And so we followed with their idea of what it was worth. And so I ask you, what is your value? I was a kid, my dad would always tell me, especially when I was making bad decisions, Edie, set your value. You need to set your value. You need to set your value. And I didn't really understand what he was saying at the time. Now that I'm older, mind blown, right? Genius. He's so smart. Basically what he was trying to tell me is that I was setting my worth. And the way that I felt I was worth, my value in that moment, however I felt, whatever value I put on myself, it was reflecting on the decisions that I was making, right? So if I was making poor decisions, it was obviously showing me and the world that I wasn't worthy of good opportunities, right? So I would go and self-sabotage those things. Now, the older that I got and the more I worked on giving myself that value, the more I started growing in the mindset of, no, I'm worthy of this. I can do this. I can have this home. I can work hard towards this degree. I can have these friendships with these amazing people. I can have these healthy relationships. I'm worthy of this. And so I put in the work to have those things, right? Because I felt that I was worth it, because I knew that I was worth it. But it took a long time for me to realize that I was the one making that decision. I was the one choosing what my value was, not the world around me. I don't care what people say, right? Opinions are opinions. Everybody's got one. But I was the one that was ultimately making either poor choices and then having to deal with the consequences of those choices, or knowing that I was worthy of better choices and better outcomes, and so making the decisions that I needed to make in order to have those outcomes that I really wanted, right? So this whole seed was planted in my head by my father very young. So I want to tell you the same thing that my dad said to me a million times. Give yourself your value. Figure out what that is for you and then rise up to meet it. Don't let anybody tell you that you are worth less, right? You set the bar. You say what you're worth. And then you do the work to show the world that that is what you are worth, right? But more than anything, to show yourself that that's what you're worth. I've been wanting to post this video for a couple of days now, but I just felt like there was something missing. It's very different to teach this lesson to a phone than it is in a class. I realized that what was missing was exactly the conversations that we always have in person, which is the reality of confidence, right? And how this whole thing actually works. Confidence isn't about perfection. Confidence is about acceptance. It's about understanding that you have your flaws, right? Being okay with it, but also understanding that with those flaws, there has to be some growth, right? There has to be an understanding of the fact that you have to continuously grow and try your best to be your best. It's not about perfection, right? It is about giving 100% of who you are in that moment, and then constantly evolving and constantly growing to be a better version of yourself when you get older. It's the beauty of age and of ages and stages, like my friend Anne-Marie says. She taught me that. Love you, Anne-Marie. Ages and stages, right? It's the beauty of ages and stages. The older you get, the more you start paying attention to your decisions, the more you realize the consequences behind them. But it's not about striving for perfection. It's also not striving to be somebody else, because there's so much beauty in who you are. There's so much beauty in who you are, right? And a lot of us, for some reason, tend to strive towards being something else, right? I hear a lot of my students saying things like, oh, I wish I was Beyonce, and I wish I was, so-and-so, and I wish I was so-and-so. And I'm sitting back going, okay, but Beyonce already exists. She's amazing, but she already exists, right? Why don't you want to be the first version of yourself? If Beyonce would have wanted to be somebody else, there would have been a Beyonce. She would have been imitating somebody else. And so what makes her so unique and so amazing wouldn't exist. But the reality is that the $100 bill mentality is not about changing who you are. It's about evolving as who you are, giving 100% of who you are today to everything that you do, with the understanding that tomorrow you need to give 100%, but you also need to grow a little from today to tomorrow. And you need to grow a little from tomorrow to the next day and the next day and the next day. Every single day you've got to try to evolve a little bit, right? To raise your value. It's not about perfection. Get that out of your head. I'll tell you right now, I am 100% perfectly imperfect. I have scars that tell stories, beautiful stories, beautiful stories. I have lived a life well lived. I have stories. I have mistakes that I have made that have taught me and made me better. Dropping out of high school was one of them, right? I learned that education was something that I should have valued and I needed to value. Hence, that's why I went back and got my GED, then got my associates, and got my bachelor's, and then got a master's, and became a college professor. Whatever. Being a dropout is in my past. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I am a $100 bill today in a very different way than I was a $100 bill back then. I have more value today than I did back then. Why? Because I learned from my lessons. So who I was at 16 is not who I am today. And that's a beautiful thing about growth. But the $100 bill mentality is not about never making mistakes or constantly being 100% perfect. No, the $100 bill mentality is about giving your 100% of who you are today to everything that you do, with the understanding that you are constantly evolving, that you need to grow, you need to become better every single day, right? I'm a $100 bill. Today, I am a $100 bill. I am going to give 100% of who I am today, and tomorrow morning I will wake up with lessons from mistakes that I have made today, and I will wake up with those lessons tomorrow and the clear understanding of what they are, and tomorrow I will be a better version of my $100 bill self. That is the $100 bill mentality. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't make them on purpose. Don't do it. Like my parents said, don't trip over the same rock twice. Don't do it. It's painful. If you know that there is a boulder to the left, don't go to the left. Just don't do it. You've already been there. You've already been there. It's a waste of time. Waste of energy that you could be putting towards something positive. Remember, right? Wherever you put your energy, that's where you're going to get results. Wherever you put your energy, that is where you're going to see results. You put your energy towards learning from your mistakes and rising yourself up to a better version of yourself, you will eventually become a better version of yourself. Wear this too. There's a beautiful reward that comes with this mindset. Did you see that? Like a little pterodactyl in my house. There's a beautiful mindset or a beautiful reward that comes with this mindset, right? And that is that every single area of your life will be impacted by this mentality, right? By you rising up to meet your value, by you setting it and then doing the work to rise up to meet it. Every other area of your life is going to be impacted by this. You're going to learn how to set healthy boundaries, right? Even with the people that you love dearly, you're going to learn that it's okay for you to set healthy boundaries, right? To accept certain things and then make the choice to not accept certain things. And you'll be fine with that because you know that you are worthy of it, right? You will pick great friendships, good friendships, and keep the ones in your life that really, really do elevate you and support you, right? And you will choose on your own to separate yourself from people that aren't rising up that mountain with you, aren't climbing that mountain with you, and that aren't being supportive of your growth. You're going to be all right with letting that go. You're also going to start picking healthier things for yourself. Your health will improve. Your mental health will improve. Your physical health will improve. All of that will improve because you will start feeling more valuable. So you will make better decisions for yourself. If there's something in you that you see is lowering your value, something that you need to work on, go do the work. Don't be lazy about it. And don't be embarrassed about going and finding solutions for yourself. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was younger, I noticed that I was very reactive, right? I'm a Cuban woman. We're fire. We're fire. And so I knew that I was very reactive. So I knew that I had to tone that down. Why? Because I didn't like the way that I felt afterwards. And so I wanted to improve in that area. I wanted to be able to be less reactive, be more in control of myself, right? Be more self-aware, be more in control of myself, of my reactions. And so I went and I took an anger management class by myself. I got the little certificate and everything, and I'm proud of it. It was like 20 years ago. And ever since then, I have been working on that, and I read books, and I make a conscious effort every single day to work on that. Why? Because that's something that I want to improve in. That's something that I feel I need to improve in and work on every single day. Being reactive, I don't want to be. And thank God that I have grown out of that. But it took a lot of work. And you know what? It's been worth it. So at the end of the day, I don't want to feel bad about reacting to a situation that upsets me in the moment when I know that I have more self-control, right? I just had to learn how to have that self-control. The truth is, I don't want to give anybody that much power. I don't want to give anybody that much power to upset me to the point where I lower myself to a level that I don't belong in just because they upset me. Not worth it, right? I have more self-control, but I had to work at that. And if that means going and taking an anger management class because I want to learn about anger a little bit more and how to manage it, then that's what I do. And I'm not embarrassed about it. Why? Because it helped me become a better person. So you want to know the most humbling thing about that experience? And I'm not saying this to judge anybody because I'm nobody to judge. I was the only one in that room that wasn't court ordered to be there. And that was a wake up for me because I realized that I really wanted to be in control of the changes that I needed to make. You know your flaws, same way I know mine. You work on them by choice. That's when you're really going to change, not when you're forced to. It's a very different process with a very different outcome. Just remember that, right? And so do whatever it is that you got to do, and don't be embarrassed about it, and don't apologize to anybody. Don't explain it to anybody. You don't owe anybody an explanation as to why you are improving in whatever area it is that you feel you need to improve in. You do the work, you do what you got to do to become a better person. Okay, and don't be very unapologetic about it. You don't even have to tell anybody. I'm telling you about that, probably 2 people in my life know about it. Now everybody on YouTube, whoever's watching, knows about it. And I don't care because I'm not embarrassed. Do whatever you got to do to improve yourself. Do the work. It'll be worth it, right? And you'll be proud of yourself for it. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I went and I did that. You know why? Because that was the first step to controlling my anger. And because of that, I've been able to tone it down. Not saying that I don't get angry, but it is saying that I learned the tools that I needed to learn in order to walk away from a situation that is really upsetting me in that moment. So I could go and think about it before I react. Right? So I did the work. And I'm constantly doing the work. But I'm proud of it. I'm not embarrassed. I own it. Right? $100 bill mentality. Rise up. So do whatever it is that you need to do. Don't be embarrassed of it. Don't don't apologize for it. Work on your best self every day. People will follow. Be surprised how many people need to do the same work and just don't have the courage to do it. So lead by example. Take pride in yourself. You're only that. The beauty of being unique is the fact that you get to be yourself and you don't even know how you could change the world. Mama O taught me this lesson a really long time ago. If you don't know who Mama O is, it's Oprah Winfrey. She said on one of her episodes, I'm totally aging myself, but that's okay. There will never be a problem you will ever go through that somebody hasn't mastered it and written a book about it. Genius, right? Again, genius. Do you know how many problems I've actually been able to solve? Not necessarily from getting it from the book, but just looking at it from a different perspective. Because an author went through it, wrote about it, and then let me see the situation from a different perspective. And then I was able to find a solution that worked for me because I got to see it from somebody else's point of view. And I didn't even have to tell anybody I was going through that problem. $100 bill mentality, right? Constant evolution. Constant evolution. You know why I love teaching this? Because I teach leaders, future leaders. I am teaching future leaders, and I want them to be very clear about the fact that they are imperfectly perfect, and they can't let their egos get in the way of their leadership. Your team is always going to come first. You want to succeed? Your team's success has to come before yours. That's just it. Your team's success has to come before yours. I need my students to, I need you to understand. Not just my students, you are. If you're watching this, you're one of my students now. So welcome to my classroom. The reality of leadership is understanding that $100 bill mentality, right? Understanding that you've got to give 100% of who you are to your team at all times. You got to give 100% of who you are to your work at all times. 100% of who you are to everything that you do at all times, right? But it is also the reality of understanding that you are going to have flaws. As a leader, you're going to have flaws, right? And you have to have that $100 bill mentality. I'm going to give 100% of who I am right now to my team, 100% of my efforts right now to my team. I'm going to give 100% to my leadership. I am going to give 100%. I'm going to be that $100 bill today, right? You also have to be very clear in your leadership and understanding that you're going to have flaws in that. This is where your ego can't come in. The $100 bill theory is not about you being perfect every single day. It is about you giving 100% of the best of you. 100%. Every single day of the best of who you are in that moment, on that day, to that situation, with the clear understanding that you have to evolve and that your imperfections are a beautiful thing because that gives you space to grow. That's what it's about. If you're a leader, you have to be okay with evolving. You have to be okay with being wrong. You have to be okay with not always showing up in the best way and then fixing it. Now, this also comes with making the right decisions in relationships, in jobs, in your leadership, in your friendships, in every single aspect of your life. You want to make sure that you are surrounded with people of value. You want to make sure that you are surrounded with people of worth that help to elevate that value. You don't want to be surrounded with people that diminish it. You don't ever want to be surrounded by people that diminish that value. I'm going to tell you a quick story. You already know it's Oprah. Mama O talked on one episode a long time ago. Again, I'm aging myself. And she talked about climbing a mountain. And in this episode, she talked about the fact that we all start right at the bottom of the mountain. And we all want to work our way up to the very, very top of that mountain. That's what, success is like. Whatever success means for us, right? For some of us, it's success in family, success in health, success in our mental health, success in our work environment, whatever in our education, whatever your mountain is, right? You're climbing that mountain. And we all start at the bottom. And while we're climbing that mountain, the higher we get, the more people start losing oxygen. That doesn't mean that they're not worthy of the climb. It just means that they're not willing to do the work, right? And so the higher you go, the more people in your life start fading away, which is perfectly fine. You got to be okay with that. You got to think about that in the sense of like a dresser drawer, right? You got to empty out what doesn't fit in your life so you can fit the things that actually fit who you are in that moment. That's climbing the mountain, right? It's the same thing. The higher you go, the more people start fading away. Why? Because they don't want to do the same work. They don't want to keep going. They're fine with where they're at, right? Stagnant water is never going to turn into a waterfall. But whatever. You want to keep climbing that mountain, right? And so the higher you go, the more people are going to fade away. But the higher that you go, here's the beauty of that climb. I can tell you because I've done it. And I keep doing it every single day. But I've literally climbed my mountain. I'll tell you the story about that after. It's a really good one. This was after I took my GED test. It was really cool. But anyway, so the higher you go up your mountain, the more you meet like-minded people that feel that value that you're starting to feel in yourself because you're doing the work, right? So the higher you go, the more you meet like-minded people, the more you meet driven people, the more you meet people with the same value that you have, right? That are constantly working towards bettering themselves. You keep climbing the mountain, some of those people fall away, right? The higher you go, the more you meet like-minded people. You get what I'm saying, right? The higher you go, the more people are going to fall away. The higher you go, the more you're going to meet like-minded people, and so on and so on and so on, right? That's why the older we get, the smaller the peak of our pyramid gets, right? You got your acquaintances, your friends, your family. Like that little peak of your pyramid at the very top is very small. And the younger you are, the more friends you have, the more people you have in your life, right? Everybody, you want to be everybody's friend, but the older you get, the more selective you are about the people you choose, the places you go, the jobs you take, right? What you study, what you learn. Why? Because you're evolving into a different version of yourself. That's my cow. So the higher you climb your mountain, the less people you're going to have in your life, but the more valuable those people are going to be, right? Why? Because you've grown together. I can tell you from experience, I have friends that I've had since I was 11 years old, 7 years old, and they are in my life now. Beautiful, beautiful women that, oh my God, if you don't have a tribe of women and you're a woman, whoo, you are missing out. Beautiful women that we have gone through so much together, and we have grown and elevated, right? We have literally climbed our mountain together, each one of us with different focuses. You know, I was focused on education and leadership and all of that other stuff, and some of my friends were focused on family and all that other stuff. Like we were very, very driven in different directions. However, we kept climbing the mountain together. Beautiful thing, right? And so the beauty of those kind of friendships is that even though we're in different places in our lives, we are constantly elevating each other to the next level because we are still climbing together. But I'll tell you what, we call each other out when we have to. And that is the beauty of friendship. But I wouldn't trade them for anything else. Love you guys so much. Couldn't have gone through life without them. But anyway, this elevation, right? You have to be okay with letting go of things that don't fit you anymore. This is why when you're in a relationship that isn't good for you, you sit back and say to yourself, I deserve better. I deserve better. I deserve better. Why? Because you know that you are more valuable. When you're in a job that is toxic, that you're being treated with disrespect, or that you aren't being paid what you're worth, you know, right? Because you know your worth. You are elevating yourself in value. Keep that all in mind. This doesn't apply to just education. I may be talking about it in the form of education, but it applies to everything else. So if it applies in some area to you, whether it's health, a relationship, your job, education, whatever it is, apply it to where you need it to apply. This, this lesson isn't just based on one direction. This is based on whatever direction you need it to go. No, I can talk about it all day long, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to work myself up. And I am going to go sit down, have my glass of wine, and enjoy my night because I have worked really hard today. So, your success is my success always. Go ahead, click the button, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever it is, leave a comment. I'm learning. Slow and steady, right? That's how we win the race, slow and steady. P.S. Eddie, this one's for you. Don't mind all this. I just finished a workout. Okay, this is something that I do in class. I give my students an option to do, sometimes for extra credit. Sometimes we just do it in class just to see what they get. I want to offer it to you because it really does help shine some light on areas that you can improve in. So I want you to write 5 things down. 5 things. Just 5 things. 5 things down that you feel you need to improve in. 5. That's it, right? It could be run a 5K. Running a 5K, if you haven't done it, it's amazing. The way you feel when you get to that finish line is amazing. And I'll tell you that my first one was not that amazing. I feel like I fast walked it. But whatever. My last one was great. So anyway, if you want to run a 5K, right? That'll improve your value. Why? Because the feeling that you get, that intrinsic reward that you get when you finish or you cross that finish line, nothing like it. It could be your health. It could be eating better. It could be actively listening more to the people that you love, to your team, to your friends. It could be apply to a job where you feel more valued. It could be let go of a toxic relationship. It could be improve in your self-awareness and your emotional intelligence. It could be anything. It could be anything, right? This is your list. Nobody needs to have a say in anything. I'm just giving you ideas. So write out a list of 5 things, okay? 5 things you want to improve in. And then I'm going to open the door for this. If you go to the website, The Global Professor, you can send me an email through there if you want. Let me know what your 5 things are. And if you need help kind of figuring out where to get started, well, I'm here to help you, right? Your success is my success. Do this with my students. We sit down, we brainstorm ideas on how they can get started, and then they make an action plan and they get started. One step at a time. It's about baby steps. It is not, don't look at the big picture. You got to look at little pieces. You got to chunk your goal down, right? 5 things, 5 areas in your life, 5 things in your life that you want to improve in. Just write it down. Don't be afraid of it. I can guarantee that there are millions of people that need to work on the same exact thing. Some of them just don't have the courage to do it. But you're going to have the courage. You're going to have the courage to do it. Why? Because you're one of my students now. And my students succeed. That's how it works. Ask them. They're amazing. Right? 5 things. Just 5 things. And then reach out to me. I love coaching people. I love helping people. So go ahead, reach out, send me an email, tell me your 5 things, and then we can brainstorm. I'll write you back. And go ahead and let me know if you want me to make a video on some of the books that I've read that have completely altered my life, because I'll go ahead and do that for you. Maybe a 5-hour video. But whatever. I'll share them with you. It won't be. I don't know. There's my cow. See? She's doing her job. Probably barking at a squirrel. Anyway, you let me know. I'll get on it. Leave it in the comments down below. And then that way I'll know that that's what you want to read or that's what you want to see. I'll make it for you. Okay? Go do your thing. Go make me proud. Go make yourself proud. You got this. $100 bill mentality. $100 bill mentality, right? $100 bill. You can do anything you put your mind to. Good stuff. All good stuff. I would say $1 million bill, but I've never seen one in person. So let's just stick with $100. Okay? You've already made me proud. You know your success is my success. So go write your list. Get started on these goals. It'll change your life.